Electrical safety and electricity saving in the induction stove usage is the need of the hour, especially at the time of this LPG crisis, and the induction stove is taking the center stage of our Indian kitchen. So, what are all the precautions we can take towards the electrical safety? At the same time, how much of electricity savings can be achieved in this induction stove usage? We will go in depth as such. Induction stove usage has improved upon the practices with reference to the LPG stove. In fact, the induction stove is efficiency wise it's almost around 80%, whereas the LPG stove efficiency is around 40%. One is the stove efficiency, the other next point is the usage efficiency. That is what our 6-decade-old our PCRA, Petroleum Conservation Research Association, has guided the Indian housewives in the kitchen to save almost 30% LPG savings in the cooking practices, efficient practices in the kitchen as such. So, we have to achieve what all we have achieved in the LPG savings in the LPG stove, the same or the similar electricity savings need to be achieved in the induction stove usage as well. So, overall efficiency lies in optimizing the usage of the induction stove as compared to that of LPG stove now. Typical of any induction stove, the OEM always gives a wide circle display on the stove top. This is to prompt the Indian housewife to keep a broad and flat bottomed vessel and a broader vessel to match to the circular display. This is the first and the foremost point, because the heat transfer happens only at the bottom of the stove, either in the case of LPG stove as well as in the case of induction stove, but induction stove OEMs have understood this very clearly, and the initially once you have the circular display is given, the homemaker is already prompted to go for a broad based vessel, and heat transfer is faster and the cooking is also very faster. Next comes the compatible vessel, this magnetic compatible vessel, either SS or a cast iron vessel to suit to the induction stove usage. This delivers a quick heat transfer to the food as such. So, not only in the LPG stove, but in the partly closed lid, this in the induction stove also you can boil the water or milk with partly closed lid, so that say and keeping around 80% maximum level of the water in this in the vessel. This gives a shorter time to boil, and definitely it is less usage of electricity. So, electricity saving is very much possible in the induction stove, and what are all the LPG stove practices we have done, similar practices we can definitely adopt in the induction stove also and achieve the electricity savings as well. Smarter cooking starts with a pressure cooker, and that too with a separators. See, LPG stove, many of the in the kitchen they have started using it, but the same pressure cooker with the separators can be used in the induction stove as well, and one time heat setting is done, one time the induction stove is on means multiple dishes, either dal or water, either the dal or the rice or the vegetables can be cooked, three cooking items can be done at the same time with one heating of induction stove. And also normally in the LPG stove it is told to come to the medium flame once the first whistle has come for the cooker. Similarly for the induction stove also, once the first whistle has come, you can definitely lower the settings. So, small burner and medium flame for the LPG stove, as well for the induction stove, always keeping it lower settings, power settings for the induction stove definitely will prove electricity saving, as well as the quality of food also improves as such. Coming to the electrical safety to be followed in the induction stove cooking. See, normally in typical of any Indian kitchen, almost 1600 to 2000 watts induction stove has been used in general. But in recent times we come across this 1200 watts. This is a welcome step to be appreciated. In fact, some of the state governments have taken this step, and the mass scale production of this 1200 watts, it is better for the national electricity grid as such. Coming to the induction stove, 15 amp socket needs to be exclusively used for the induction stove. And if the kitchen, if you have a same switchboard where 2 or 3 or more power sockets are there, only one point to be used, one appliance, or they say if the induction stove is used, the other points need not be used, must not be used as it. The induction stove usually is normally used in the peak and the prime morning hour of the day. So we have to take care when you are using the induction stove, keep all the other electrical items, that is the power related electricity gadgets like a mixie or grinder in the kitchen to be switched off when you are using the induction stove. Also in the house, we simultaneously we can avoid the usage of air conditioner or a geyser when you are using the induction stove, because this also takes around 2000 watts, and the other air conditioner or geyser also takes 2000 watts, 2000 watts. This will definitely will be restricting the kilowatt supply to the individual residents as such. So while using the induction stove, the pre-cooked menu options always automatically ramp the settings to almost the maximum load, say around 2000 watts, it will go to 2000 watts for fast cooking, but manually it can be reduced to 1000 watts, say for 1000 watts for a slower cooking. Always this is better in the present crisis environment as such. This also matches to the kilowatt allotted to the house, to the existing residents, as well as the wiring restrictions you have in your house means let us not give this 2000 watts on and off very frequently in the induction stove. This will disturb your house electrical distribution also. It is always optimum to keep at a lower wattage in the induction stove when you are using the for cooking as such. Thanks to all the oil companies, they have given excellent inputs, and this is done by all the campaigns has been done by the oil companies. High healthy flame is not always a smart choice. So always maximize the usage of small burner and a medium flame in the LPG stove. The same thing, the same exercise needs to be applied in the induction stove also. Always go for a lower power settings. You can whatever the pre-cooked menus are there, you can manually set the values to say half the settings, say around 1000 watts. It is always better, so that it is only a pulsed output that is given at the bottom of the induction stove cooktop as such, and definitely you will find the kilowatt consumption instantaneously will not be that high, and the cooking also will be slow and steady, and the quality of the food also will be good as such. The electrical safety to be followed in the induction cooking, more than that, the power cord to the induction stove, see, it needs to be tied so that the hard surface of the induction stove top should not touch the power cord. That is a safety aspect. And the electricity has to be safely handled so that not allow the cooking spillage. See, normally whatever the vessel you are keeping it, say water or milk or whatever the items you are cooking in the vessel, do not go to the full brim of the vessel. You can just keep around say 2/3 or maximum 3/4. That is always better as such. And don't allow the water to stagnate at the bottom of the stove. This is also hazardous, because the induction stove is electricity operated. You have to take all the precautions while using this electricity based appliance as such. Always clear the stove ventilation holes routinely with a used toothbrush so that no cobwebs are there and the ventilation is not obstructed at any part of the working of the induction stove. Whenever the power cut occurs, normally in typical of Indian any town or city, the frequent power cuts are happening means you have to manually fan well the stove on the ventilation hole so that the electrical or the electronic circuits, heating of the electronic circuits needs to be cooled. The induction stove is based on the extended cooling of the electronic circuits only. That is why whenever the stove is on, the bottom fan must run always. Otherwise, the circuits will heat it up. So frequent power cuts reduce the life of the induction stove. For that, you have to keep the manual fanning of the induction stove whenever there is a power cut. See, these are all the preventive, at the same time that is the exercises you take so that the damage is not controlled and does not happen to the induction stove. Always don't use a empty vessel to be kept on the top. Always the vessel be loaded and to be kept on the induction stove. Either a magnetically compatible stainless steel or a cast iron or any type of the vessel which is suiting to the induction stove. Also the vessel needs to be flat and broad bottomed. to match to the circle display on the stove. That is what I was telling before in the LPG stove as well as in the induction stove. These are all the slogans given by the oil companies. It should be appreciated. It is not save gas, save money. Now it is save electricity and save money. Both gas and electricity needs to be saved. Ultimately, the money is saved for the Indian kitchen. When it comes to the energy saving, the habits only need to be improved, and LPG and electricity consumption, the consumption can come down up to 30% of the usage. You can see the do's and don'ts, either with a small burner with a medium range to start with, and a pressure cooker with a separator, the second point, and the third point is the flat bottomed vessel, and the fourth point is keeping the burner always, see, once in 2 years the burner tops, the burner heads needs to be replaced, the head with holes, no, that needs to be replaced, and first it needs to be cleaned thoroughly, routinely, either a month, and after cleaning it, it needs to be replaced once in a 2 years. That becomes mandatory now, because the lot of holes getting choked means the LPG will not flow out. Similarly, for the induction stove, you need to keep at lower setting as well as a flat bottomed vessel, and pressure cooker with the multi separators to go all the three cookings will go at one time in heating of induction stove, and the stove top needs to be clean always, and there is no dust or deposit is there to be there on the induction stove top as such. Coming to the electrical safety, after the induction cooking, make use of the once the cooking is done with the induction stove, make use of the residual heat that will still be there, and this whatever the heat that is retained, you can make use of it in your cooking. Before final stages of cooking, you can switch off your induction stove, and the residual heat will definitely make up the final point of the cooking as such. And the important point here is, which I noted here in many of the manuals also, it is not mentioned in the induction stove manuals also. Normally the used induction stove, say around 2000 watts induction stove we are using in our Indian homes, the maximum permissible weight to be kept on the induction stove is around 5 kgs only. You can also check up with the induction stove manuals also. This, the user needs to be aware of this. Whatever the cooking utensil vessel and whatever the cooked items like boiling water, you cannot put a 5-liter vessel on top of the induction stove and keep it for boiling, because that exceeds the 5 kg weight. So the cooking vessel weight and the cooked items weight also matters more, not to exceed the weight of the rated weight of the induction stove. If the stove is overloaded above the rated weight, the top glass plate may get cracked and get damaged. So this is a mechanical caution that you have to apply when you are using the induction stove, not to overload the stove. Don't put heavy weight on the stove top as such. Also, let us try to keep on the induction stove on an elevated platform around let us say around 10 centimeters above and on a non-metal surface, so that you are giving a 15 amps grounded power point, and you should see to it that this stove bottom is kept on a non-metal surface, and allow minimum free space of around 10 centimeters on the sides and the back of the stove, so that better ventilation is always be there. Allow the air freely to move around the stove, and do not put the stove on the carpet or a tablecloth, whichever that obstructs the ventilation as such. Also, this is applicable to both LPG stove as well as the induction stove. Your vessels need to be very clean. 1 millimeter of salt scaling in this vessel, either inside or outside, definitely increases the cooking time, increases the LPG consumption, increases the electricity consumption by 10% as such. Coming to the usage, right sizing of the cooker is definitely needed, not only for the LPG stove, for the induction stove also. You cannot use a 5-liter cooker for a 2 or 3 member family. A 3-liter cooker is very much enough, pressure cooker is enough. I am talking about the pressure cooker usage in the induction stove only. Also, normally many of the bachelors, for their 1-member family, they are still using 2-liter or a 3-liter cooker. That is again a waste of electricity, and it consumes more of time also. So let us consistently educate the consumer what size and the type of cooker, induction friendly cooker needs to be used for the rational usage of the cooking purposes. Coming to the electricity savings in the induction stove instantly heats up the cooking vessel. So, it is always better to keep all the cooking ingredients ready before cooking first, and always keep at lower power settings and optimize the setting to suit your cooking pattern. See, always you do not need to go for a pre-cooked menu like 2000 watts or 1800 watts always. You can keep it 800 to 1000 watts also, and definitely the electrical safety and savings is ensured for the user as such. And the electronic circuits are inside, you have to keep it slightly away from the high temperatures. You cannot keep the LPG stove or the induction stove or any of the hot surroundings nearby the induction stove. The electronic circuits are inside, so we have to take care of it. After cooking after the cooking is over in the induction stove, immediately do not clean the hot cooked top of the stove with water or water laced cloth. Immediately after use, the glass plate will break as such, because very hot, and then immediate cooled this water rinsing or cleaning is not good for the induction stove. It will break the top plate as such. The stove's top glass plate needs to be clean always. The dirt or food spills are there means it needs to be cleared. If it is left there and on top of it the next plan of putting the vessel means, again this acts as a deterrent, and this will definitely reduce the cooking time, that is it will increase the cooking time and increase the electricity bill also. So, the heat transfer needs to come only from the bottom. So, the vessel bottom also the induction stove top also needs to be perfectly clean and matched to the surface. Both the surfaces needs to match and sit perfectly as such. Like the PCRA guidelines of LPG saving cooking practices, let us try to adopt the efficient cooking practices in the induction stove also, and try to reduce the electricity bills by 30%. That is, whatever that is possible, let us try to do it. See, all the time we are hesitating to switch to the induction stove cooking, but now gradually we are getting used to it. So, when you are getting used to it and you find it very easier, efficient, precise, and a faster way of cooking also. So, let us adapt to the optimize our cooking pattern always. The slow based cooking is better means you can optimize that. Thanks to the Go Electric campaign of in the Andhra Pradesh, it is done recently, and it has come in the papers. It's an excellent, it's a welcome step by the AP government, state government, and this step needs to be deployed by all the state governments throughout India and simultaneously improve the electrical infrastructure. Because you can see instead of they have selected instead of 1800 or 2000 watts, they have selected only 1200 watts for the given cooking purpose, and almost 28,000 tons of CO2 emission they are able to prevent it by introducing this Go Electric campaign of introduction of induction stove in their total state as such. So, this is eliminating the open flames, and this is reducing the fire hazards. Also, it gives a cleaner environment and a safer working environment. It gives almost 30% energy efficient than the existing LPG stoves. So, reduced electricity consumption, you can see the 1200 watts is good for not only for the user, it is good for the all around. Let us say you are in a street where around 100 houses are there, 100 residences there, all of the consumers around peak 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock, you switch on your induction stove and go for around 2000 watts. It is definitely it is a instantaneous load to the grid, that distribution transformer, or to the state grid, to the city or the state grid. So, always go for a lower power settings and say around 1000 watts for a daily. This gives for daily light or moderate cooking tasks like boiling, simming or reheating compared to any of the high wattage units, and this reduces the power bills, as well as this maintains the infrastructure, the electrical infrastructure that is available to the residential area. That is more important now. A typical cooking electricity stove, say around 2000 watts, you can see the full power cooking for 15-20 minutes means it takes almost around 0.5 to 0.7 units kWh. Whereas, if it is kept at a lower heating setting, a lower power setting for 20 minutes, it takes only around 0.3 to 0.5 kWh only. So, you can see the difference here itself. So, a typical meal almost it consumes around 1 to 1.5 units of electricity means Induction cooking is very quick and economical. And medium heat settings, here the medium heat settings is more important instead of full power. Wherever, that is whenever and wherever it is possible, try to adapt a lower power setting when you are using the induction stove. Kind courtesy, this is by Wipro Appliances blog. This is an excellent input and we have to apply this when you are cooking with a lower power setting in the induction stove as such. The table compares the different power modes, wattage and the temperature. You can see at 1 to 2 power mode, the wattage of 500 to 800 watts, around 65 degrees the temperature, and for reheating or defrosting or warming of milk or water, definitely it suits very much well. And at a power mode of 3 and 4, say around 800 to 1200 watts, almost 80 to 100 degrees, slow cooking. This is what the main thrust of this point which we want, which I wanted to focus here and give a thrust. Let us go for a slow cooking, let us go for a low power setting in the induction stove, and definitely this will be better for the individual user, combination of for all the neighbors in his community, either in the street or in a gated community or whatever may be the city or town or whatever it may be. It is good for the national grid as such. Thanks to the Stovepedia blogs, it gave this detailed input on this. So the way forward towards the LPG and the induction stove mix, now the induction stove has taken the center stage in the kitchen, because LPG, due to the crisis, it is just the supplies are going down. You can see, you can visualize 33 crore families are using the LPG, and 60% of the LPG is imported to India, and 90% goes towards the domestic consumption only. So it is time now induction stove takes the center stage and it needs to work more than the LPG now. The time has come and it is demanded now. The induction stove has to perform better or has to be used better than the LPG in the Indian kitchen now. Basically, the stove efficiency, as I was telling before, the LPG stove was around 40%, the induction stove was 80%, but the saving scope, electricity or the LPG saving scope is around 13% in cooking practices only. That is what the million thanks to the PCRA, Petroleum Conservation Research Association, who had consistently educated the Indian housewives. Now it is the time the ministries, the departments, the authorities to work together to promote this or to sustain this 30% energy savings, either in the LPG stove as well as in the induction stove. Energy education is normally said it is half done in the energy conservation. It is practically observed in the industries, and let us try to utilize the same in the residential energy usage, and let us educate the consumers. Let the 33 crore families be educated actively be educated with their pamphlets, or all the oil marketing companies through their distribution network throughout this one, they can educate the 33 crore families, actively campaign for both the reduction of LPG usage in the existing LPG stove and promote the induction stove usage and reduce the electricity consumption in the induction stove usage. A small burner medium flame in the LPG and a manual low power setting is in the induction stove. This is what is needed now at the time of crisis now. So this will also not affect the electrical grid in the peak and prime hours of the day, especially in the morning session of the day. Thank you, thank you, thank you.